Well, let me borrow a line from General Manager Steve Keim. 2020 is our year, I guess. And apparently, MJ, it is, at least if you're looking at the first 2 days of the draft. As we welcome you to another special edition of Cards Cover 2, presented by Hyundai, proud partner of the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, the general manager with a big smiles after selecting Josh Jones, a big offensive tackle out of Houston, with the 72nd overall pick. A lot of people, MJ, thought offensive tackle would have been the selection at number 8. Instead, they wait more than 3 hours on day 2 to come up with that offensive lineman.
Well, when you get to the third and fourth round, and I know obviously that's going to happen tomorrow on the fourth round part, and you get the compensatory picks, some of these guys you're not familiar with. But we discussed Josh Jones at length, and we talked about him if the Cardinals decided to move down to the teens, not the third round. He was ranked in Mel Kiper's top 50. Rob Ring had him 37th overall. 45 starts, played left tackle. He could play right tackle. He thinks he can come in and play, in week one, obviously competition. But yeah, I mean, Steve's right. I mean, and I like the fact that people are saying that the second round pick was DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, you go ahead and get Isaiah Simmons, DeAndre Hopkins, and a guy that was projected. Now, we don't know medical, we don't know character, but I did read some stuff earlier today because when you look at these best available, he was right there with a couple linebackers and running backs. And I thought, and I went back and looked at his combine, and he didn't have a great combine. And sometimes players have to be pushed. That's what coaching is. So I don't care about his 40 time. You look at his 3-cone and, his strength, and 45 starts is nothing to slouch at, Craig.
Oh, absolutely not. And we talked how big he is. 6'5", 319, was the practice player of the week on the offensive line during the Senior Bowl. So that was something that the Cardinals really focused in, because that's a huge week of practice. Everyone focuses on the game, but it's those practices leading into the game. But you look at his resume, talking about Jones, you mentioned it, 45 starts, all at left tackle, 13 as a redshirt freshman, 10 as a sophomore, 13 as a junior, and then last season, 9, only because he suffered a knee injury, but a top 50 player consensus across the board. And here the Cardinals get him at pick number 72.
Yeah, and, you're wondering, they don't have a lot of leverage. You could have parlayed 2 of those 4s to try to move back into the third round, but I'm thinking, he's there. So I'm always leery because we've watched, the Dallas Cowboys take a guy that, obviously had blown out his knee. You don't know about character. And then they'll say, there's a reason why this guy's available. And then, Austin Jackson, he got picked yesterday. So you're looking at, okay, where's Josh Jones? So, this must be the Cardinals' year because, they're rolling snake eyes right here.
Absolutely. And there was some disappointment in the voice of Josh Jones when he met the media earlier here tonight. But in the end, quote, "I'm happy I landed with the Cardinals," unquote, a team that he believes is a rising young team and a team that he does have some familiarity with. His press conference was before we had a chance to talk with Keim and head coach Cliff Kingsbury. So Jones mentioned that Kingsbury recruited him out of high school. Asked about that later, Kingsbury remembered it, but he remembered because Jones, quote, "told me no. He turned me down." So now all of a sudden, those pair are reunited, or I should say united, kind of like Kyler Murray and head coach Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of this. I wonder why he didn't win a lot of games at Texas Tech. Obviously, his offense was successful, but you got to play defense, and we know they don't play defense in that conference. But I know we haven't focused on this, but you're starting to see it when it comes to these draftees. Cliff has some intel on these guys. I know that, Texas is the hotbed and usually you'll go around the surrounding areas, but there's football players everywhere. So, the fact that he was in one of the conference where a lot of good quarterbacks, a lot of good skill position players, you look at some of the defensive players. So I think Kingsbury is going to have a beat on this for the next couple of years because of how much time he spent in college football.
Maybe that's why he was so chill on day one at his house, just kind of leaning back, waiting for first round to begin because, he knew all these players ahead of time, or at least some connection with them. So again, Josh Jones, the Cardinals with another offensive lineman, that makes 12 now on the roster. Jones obviously not signed yet, but in that offensive line room. And again, a player that the Cardinals had very high on their board, and someone that they were quite surprised that was going to be there. Now the question becomes, MJ, okay, you addressed offensive tackle. He comes in highly motivated, but there is going to be some competition now on that right side with Marcus Gilbert re-signed and Justin Murray coming back. 3 names right there. And then Kingsbury also brought up Josh Miles. So maybe you've got a 4-person competition for that right spot.
Yeah, obviously you're not going to be able to address all these guys. We know that the new rule goes to 8, and I got to think Max Garcia is probably your veteran swing guy because he could play both guard spots. I wonder if they're going to let him do some snapping to be an insurance policy. Of course, you got Lamont Gilliard, Josh Miles, but Murray and Gilbert, and then you wonder position flexibility. I mean, so and listen, Sean Kugler's got to be thrilled. I mean, give these guys Sean Kugler. I talked about Chase Young and the way that they described to me, just give me a piece of clay and you're going to turn into a good football player. Sean Kugler, I'm sure he was, I can't say this out loud because I don't know this, but I'm sure he wanted an offensive tackle at some point in this draft. Whether you let the higher Bs make the pick, you put your input, but the fact that they were able to turn around and get a guy of this caliber, I think if you're Cougs, man, you're like, I'm excited about working for this guy. Listen, if he doesn't start in week 1, big deal. This guy's going to be here for the next 5 years, and he'll be your future right or left tackle.
Well, he doesn't have to start right away. I know with a 3rd-round pick, you want to see him on the field, but you've got 2 guys, and if you're that high on Josh Miles, maybe 3 guys, and you see how Jones kind of gets used to this offense, used to the speed of the game. And remember, there might not be an offseason. There might be a shortened training camp. We don't know what this summer is going to look like. So maybe, rookies are already behind the 8 ball coming in. He might even be further behind, although when he met with the media earlier tonight, he mentioned that he's kind of used to this offense as far as up-tempo, but it's all about terminology and how quickly you can get up to speed and remember the playbook. So, they'll throw everything at him. Now it's up to him to kind of get on the same page, up to speed with everybody else.